Irwin, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thanks, Jason. Doing very well. Very well. Bit cold, but
Awesome.
doing well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for getting up very early for us to record this podcast. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah, my name's Irwin. Irwin is in Steve Irwin. And I actually run two companies now. I've got my digital agency or web design agency, so Chromatix web design. We've been doing this for 15 years now. And I also have a Martech SaaS software or just a SaaS software called ConversionCow. So milk your website or beef up your website so you get more leads. So that's it.
Awesome. That's awesome. Now, how did you get into the agency space 15 years ago?
Yeah, so I actually come from an ad agency background. So I used to work for the two top ad agencies here in Melbourne, Australia. And so they were George Patterson Y&I and Clemenger BBDO. So I actually worked as part of their digital division, working up the ranks. And yeah, I thought rather than work for the man, I'd be the man and have a crack. And I'd love to say I kind of quit my job and walked out, but I was actually made redundant during the GFC at the tail end of the GFC, and so I thought, hey, let's give this a crack. There's no harm, and here we are, 15 years later. So
Well, BBDO, I mean, that's definitely one of the biggest, that and Gray. But
mm,
I think everything always works out for a reason. I remember getting a job out of school with Arthur Anderson. And I
mhm.
think if they didn't get rid of me on a conference call on mute mode with a recording, then I would have never had the confidence in order to go out. Yeah, they did recording, mute mode.
Wow.
And there's
Might
like
as well
50
just send you a
other
text message. Yeah.
there was like
Oh,
50,000 other people that they were getting rid of too. So it was pretty, like, we were all kind of
wow.
like, we didn't have Slack back then, or didn't
Yeah.
think I had a cell phone then.
Wow, that is tough. Yeah. Anyway, but
But
no, I don't. I think I never see it as bad things happen. I just see it as you now have an opportunity to do something new or just try something. And life's too short to just be sitting there wallowing over, a lost client or, I couldn't do this and that. It's how we pick ourselves back up. That's the real
yeah.
show of character and just who we are. So just trying that bit of resilience. So yeah.
What was the first couple years like running your agency when you were trying to, you know, were you the bottleneck? I know I
Oh
was.
man, it was absolute crap actually. Not gonna lie. I'd love to say it's a glamorous story. We did one project, and I was just telling a friend of mine, our first website was $300, and I don't
Oh,
care
I
if
got
that's
you beat. I was 500.
yeah, yeah. And I don't care if that's Aussie dollars or US dollars and stuff. It's $300 is nothing. It's not even an hourly rate in some ways. So and it was really, really tough. And I think you really had to go, do you actually love digital or do you love web? Because if you're going to think of making money, there's plenty of other ways to make money, but you had to do it for the love of it. And I think that's what kind of got you going at the start. But I did realize you're absolutely right. I think I'm always, even to this very day, I think I'm going to be the bottleneck of everything because it's the decisions I make, the way I think, the way I treat my team, my clients. It's from the top down and stuff, and so I've had to really learn to let go and just do my thing, sort of
Well,
thing.
let me ask you this. What were you worried about?
I think there's always this kind of mentality. And I was actually talking to another business owner about this. There's always this on the back of your mind that no one can do it better than me,
Never heard
I
that.
do it the fastest. No, never. Absolutely, it's a new concept. Or we can't do it as fast as I am, so we're going to lose more money and so forth. Then I realized, kind of like a video game character, the only one who was leveling up was me, and no one else. And then you realize it's actually not the Irwin show, it's actually who I am. I'm kind of almost like I can't think of in the Avengers, but I'm kind of the one bringing the heroes together, and I'm
Mhm.
here to say, hey, they're awesome. I've got Captain America, I've got Iron Man. Who's the guy with the eye patch? I'm that guy. What's his name? Just
Samuel L. Jackson.
well,
I don't know his
well,
name.
yeah, but
Yeah,
that's me, right? I'm kind of
yeah.
like I should be the one pulling the heroes together. And I used to think, no, everyone wants Irwin. No, actually, everyone wants the result of what Irwin's team can do. And so
Yeah.
the more I tied myself to every project, the harder it was to, number one, scale. Number two, there's only one me, and I unfortunately, unless you have a cloning machine that you haven't told me about that, I'd like to, buy two, sort of thing. I'll put an order now. It's useless, sort of thing. And so I was doing more hours. I was more tired. I was then stopping everyone because everyone's now coming to me for everything, clients and staff. And so I really had a good sit down with myself. And I remember there's this diagram that I kind of drew um, of important, urgent. We all know the quadrants and stuff. Important, urgent, and non-important, non-urgent. And they say the important, urgent things you do yourself, and then as you just go through quadrants, some you delegate, or some you set aside or delay, and some things you just absolutely just get off your list and stuff. And then we did this thing where we mentally, as a team, we kind of fired everyone, including myself, and we wrote down who did we really need and want in the team? What roles did we need that is to fulfill the product that we want to produce? And then were we the right fit for that team, including myself? Because sometimes I even say, am I worthy of this position that I've been given? Because if I'm not, then let's find someone else, sort of thing. And it's really hard. It's really tough, and sometimes you do have to take it up, even if you don't like it. And so,
Well,
yeah.
I see a lot of people holding on to that mentality with, and it's an ego thing, right?
Mm,
If you think about it,
mm,
of, well, no one's is better than me. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Honestly, if
mm,
you think about it.
agree.
Um, but how can you make people even better? When you when I started thinking about, I don't have an ego anymore on this. Like, wouldn't
Mm,
it be amazing if my team could bring on new clients and I never met with them? I never chatted with them. I didn't even know who they were. Wouldn't it be amazing if my team could deliver the most amazing service to the client I've never talked to or don't even know about? But the check just, hit the bank account and they were happy and we delivered
mm,
results. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, wow, that would be amazing. And I didn't have to touch it.
yeah. And I think that's where I've come to realize, because I think maybe because, and I thought really deeply, I kind of analyzed myself. And I thought maybe because this is what I saw my parents do. They hustle, they work hard, and they were always working. And if you're not working, then you're not being, then that's not good. I want to see you hustling and grinding it out and doing late hours and stuff. And I thought, was that the end goal of all this? Like, I don't think so, actually. I want to be able to control time and do whatever I want, whatever I want. And the reason why I built a business is not because I want to be a slave to myself. Like, I've just turned it from me being a slave to someone else to a slave to myself, thinking that this was the dream. And I'm like, no, actually, the dream is for me. I don't want to be doing nothing,
I,
um, or
I
doing things when I wanted to. So, yeah.
I love that you said that. You were a slave to yourself, because there's a lot of people listening, including me, that we've created this amazing opportunity that we wanted to have more freedom, but we're a
Mm.
slave to it.
Yes.
And until I understood this framework, and this is not my framework. This is Manish's framework from E2M Solutions. Everyone go check them out. Amazing. They're a mastermind member and a sponsor of the podcast. And Manish, we just had our event Elevate, and he was speaking. I loved what he spoke on, and he spoke on the lion framework. And so he explained how lions hunt and how they go
Mm,
about throughout their day. So they maybe hunt 8 hours a day, and then they just lay around for like a week until they need to eat again. So they can just focus on, relaxing, that kind of stuff. And he goes, you need to be the lion. Now, for a while, I was always kind of the road runner, where it was the same mentality. I need to always be working. If I'm not always thinking, if I'm not always working, I'm missing out. And what happens is you burn out really quick, or
mm,
you're just trying to work so hard, you can't think of the things that you need to think about. Versus if you go, it is okay to space out. Like I would
Mm,
literally come into the office some days, like I would just, my head would hurt, but I figured I had to be in the office all day long. I had to be the first one in, last one out. And in the office, I would just literally be like on my computer pretending to work. Like I remember for 2 weeks, I designed this massive model train set on the computer, like for 2 weeks, because I didn't know what I needed to do, or I couldn't think. I couldn't brainstorm because I was working so much
yeah,
and I felt bad about it. But then when I realized, I was like, no, give myself the freedom to space out, to take some time off.
yeah.
I only need to hunt when I need to hunt. And it changed
Uh,
everything for me.
I love that analogy, but I think sometimes psychologically, if I'm not doing something, you're lazy. And I think for
Yes.
some reason that's kind of stuck in my head. Like it's like, why are you not productive? Or why are you not sorry, actually, I used to say I'm always busy. And one person once said, but are you productive? And that really just it was like a left punch. I was like, oh, uh, I don't know. And they go, what's the point of being busy if you're not being productive? And so I really sat down and thought, okay, what can I do to be productive or more productive? And so we started looking into ideas of augmenting our staff. So with the rise of AI, I think that should be. I don't think people should be fearing for their jobs. I think it's more like, wow, I can now do things smarter and faster. Um, considering outsourcing, so let's leverage other people's skills. Outsourcing is not just sending things overseas, but outsourcing just to other suppliers, people who are actually better
Yeah.
than us at doing it, sort of thing. Software, there's so much software out there that can do what we can do. Sure, we might save a couple of bucks here and there, but I don't want to build a whole CRM. Why not I just use XYZ,
No.
instead, sort of thing. And so it's being smarter now. Yeah.
You,
And
you
humble.
can't, yeah, you can't confuse movement with momentum, right? Like
Correct.
just because you're moving doesn't mean you're going forward. Like you could be going backwards, or you can just be stationary. And a lot of times you just need that. I know me physically, like, and mentally, I need that rest. I need to
Mm,
be able to have the freedom to say, no, every Friday is going to be an epic Friday where we go do an adventure. And if I
mm,
choose to, and I'm, inspired to do something, i.e. work, perfect. I have the freedom to, but
mm.
I don't have to.
Yeah. My biggest thing I think that holds owners back, and I've spoken to that many different owners as we kind of share, is when there's finances, we can hire for an ops manager or a salesperson to take our place or, buy XYZ. But when finances are tough, or when we don't have finances, or, we've had a tough time or tough year or whatever it is, that's when we kind of heap it all back onto ourselves because we're like, oh, cost cutting time. Nothing's coming in. Let's reduce the inside. Da, 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 and we keep it all back on ourselves. And so I think that's where it's always that tricky kind of balance between the two sides of, well, we need money to hire the people, but we need the people to get the money. Where's that fine-tuned balance and stuff? And so it's kind of like, I think it's okay to be on both sides, but just remember when things do come back on, how do we push back? But again, we kind of settle and we get used to the side we're on, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Well, it all goes back to like what I was talking about. When I opened up the event for Elevate, I walked everybody through kind of the phases of scaling an agency. From the infancy all the way up to selling it or going public. And I walked them through three different lines that anybody can possibly be on, and you have to identify which line you're on in order to make the switch. The first line is kind of what you were talking about. It's the up and down.
Mm,
It's the unfocused line, right? And then the next line is, the emergency line, like the red line going straight down. Like this is the panic line
yeah.
where we start making decisions, we start taking away versus actually relying on your team and investing in your team. Not saying you shouldn't ever, do layoffs, but you should tap on your team. Like whenever we're having challenges, I go to my team and say, guys, here's a challenge that we have ahead of us. rather than me try to solve it by myself.
Mm,
Community is way better in
yeah.
order to figure out, because I truly believe like the easiest, the easiest job in the world is the hardest to do by yourself. But the hardest job with, a team around you is sometimes the most rewarding. And so if you can kind of tap on them, they can get you through that, because just pulling back, just to pull back and you doing everything going, I'll go back to when it was, you're always going to be on the up and down line. And,
Mm.
and it just drives me absolutely bonkers when people do that. But it also gives us a lot of listeners to the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I guess for me, I used to try to take everything on myself because I felt like I was protecting the team. I was protecting everyone by no, I can hold all this up myself. I'll take on the problem myself, and I do agree with you. I absolutely adore my team, and thank you. I mean, if they're listening, thank you for everything, and yeah, I love you guys and stuff. And I think it's when I was honest and vulnerable and shared with them, hey, this is what we're going through. Can we get through this together? That's when real magic really happened. But it's when I was like, no, 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 I've got this. Let's be honest. I'm just little old me. How much do I really know that's going to save? There's no. You don't walk out with even if you walk out with a degree in business. You can't kind of. There's no experience,
No.
quota that you're just going to go, wow, I know everything. So, yeah. Anyway, but I feel you. Absolutely feel you. Mm.
Well, Erwin, this has been a lot of fun having you on the show. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
I mean, I think you really hit the crux of it. What's really holding me back? I mean, we talked about different successes. What's our biggest success? And I thought one thing that hit my mind is so many times we have ideas, and we get it from our clients all the time. I actually had one client who said, "Oh, I'm looking for an idea that's eBay versus LinkedIn. It's kind of that together." And I'm like,
Oh, those people drive me crazy.
oh man, that's a big idea. And so I do what you do, So what's your budget, And they go, I don't have a budget. I go, that's fantastic. I'm excited to explore every option under the sun. Sound familiar? And I
And
go, well, I've got this great
miraculously, they get a budget.
yeah, miraculously it just appears and say, oh, actually, no, I don't have $1 million. I only had X, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to be upfront and honest on just
Mhm.
where we're at, and I might even point them in the right direction and say, actually, that's not it. I trust there's someone in the world who would do it for $10,000. It's just not me, and I'm okay with that, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But let me just warn you of what I've gone through. And so you asked me before, what was one of my biggest successes? I think it's just having an idea and seeing it through, putting my money where my mouth is. And so when we built our SaaS company, ConversionCow, it was really like, it was just another idea. But to actually have the guts to back myself, to back the team, to move forward and actually try. And so my definition of success that I shared before or mentioned was we actually launched something. It's not that we hit 1 million ARR or we're hitting this financial goal or someone's going to acquire me. It's actually, no, actually, and I even sat down with my missus. My missus said, if you can launch this thing, you come up with that many ideas, Erwin. If you can just launch it to the public,
Yeah.
you're already a hero in my eyes and stuff. And so I think it's just following through with what we say,
Yeah.
having a go, and makes us more empathetic to clients who come to us now who say, I want to design something, I want to build something. I go, I know that feeling. And I know what it feels like, and I promise you, it's not $10,000.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So yeah,
Well, it's like when people ask, like, "How do you climb these big mountains?" And I just one step at a time.
one
Like
step at a time. Yeah,
I get started. Like literally, I go, I'll climb that one, and right foot, left foot, and just keep
yeah.
going.
Exactly. My mom once said, "How do you eat an elephant? Yeah, one bite at a time."
That's right.
And that's all you can do. So here I am biting, and see how far we can go.
Very
So
cool.
yeah,
Well, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Erwin, for coming on the show and sharing your insights. And for everyone listening, like whatever you want, you got to figure out what do you want and just get started. and make sure that you're relying on your team in order to and build the community around what you believe and where you're going. And I you'll learn so much. You won't get there overnight, but as long as you have the commitment and persistence, you'll get there. And thanks for listening to the show. And until next time, have a swank day. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want more content like this, make sure you click on the link on the screen or check out your most popular podcast platform where the full episode is there. And until next time, have a swank day. What are you doing? Go check it out. Click on the link. I'll see you soon.